Can you just do the introduction part for us?
Sure.
Sure. Okay, recording has started. Please, Shanta, start it. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. Good evening from Bangladesh and a very good morning to you, sir and ma'am. On behalf of Dhaka University Research Society, I, Mahmi Alam Shanta, warmly welcome everyone to the fourth and final session of the DURS Electoral Research Training. Over the past few weeks, this training has been an inspiring journey for learning and intellectual exchange, helping us explore the intricate mechanism and electoral systems, research methodologies, and democratic studies from a global perspective. Today, as we reach the conclusion of this enlightening program, we are deeply honored to have with us once again Dr. Samuel Dedia Tyson ma'am and Mr. Joshua Rosenbaum sir. We are truly grateful for your presence and for the insightful guidance that have shared with us throughout the session. Their expertise and thoughtful discussions have made this training a memorable and academically enriching experience for all participants. As we begin this final session, we look forward to another engaging and thought-provoking discussion with ma'am and sir. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us once again. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you. I am still trying to figure out the slides here. Let me try to share again, see if that works. Sorry, my computer is not. Okay.
আমাদের ভাই কোনোভাবে কি ওপেন হচ্ছে না সেশন স্লাইডস গুলো? আপনি যে কোনো ব্রাউজার দিয়ে ওপেন করার চেষ্টা করেন তো, পাওয়ার পয়েন্ট দিয়ে ওপেন না হলে।
Yeah, it's not. Sorry, I'm sorry, everybody. I'm not. Here we go.
No, it's okay. We're.
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. All right, I'm trying one more time. The issue is I'm just not really able to do it as a presentation.
Yeah, we can see it. We can see the presentation slides. Can you just scroll down the second? Yeah, everything's perfect.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Well, I will start then. And what I'm going to try to do is do this very quickly because I want to hear all of your research. Josh and I want to kind of learn from you as much as we can. So I'm going to make this really quick. And if there's any more questions on ethical research, you can reach out to me later. I can provide concrete examples of these things that I'm going to be talking about. So like I can provide you with a concrete example of an informed consent form. I can provide you with concrete examples of like one-pagers on how you actually take these ethical research principles and operationalize them. But for the most part, it's mainly for qualitative research. It's really important for quantitative as well, but definitely for qualitative. So I don't want to take too much time because I know you aren't all doing qualitative, but for those of you that are interested, we can definitely do more. So the objective is to provide an introduction to ethical research. So I'm going to quickly be going over some ethical research definitions, key considerations, and like I said, I'll share the examples later on if anybody's interested. And then we want to have the student presentations. So ethical research. And again, with all definitions, these are not the only definitions. These are not the only ways that you can go about conducting ethical research. There's several different definitions. There's no universally agreed concept of what it means, but this is what we are going to focus on. So ethical research being principles and guidelines that govern the conduct of research to ensure fairness, integrity, and respect for all participants involved. So that's the people that we are conducting the research for and on and with, and also us as researchers. Ethical research aims to maximize the benefits of research while minimizing the potential harm. And this is really important because I know that over my career, I've gone to some countries that have not had really strong, a really strong culture of research ethics. And so a lot of researchers were doing very bad research, which means they were, exploiting people. They were maybe wanting to talk with people who had experienced trauma, who had experienced really bad things in their life, and they were just sort of exploiting them. They wanted to capture their sensational stories so they could make a name for themselves as researchers. For example, a lot of this happened in Iraq after the Islamic State left, and there was all of these religious and ethnic minority groups who had experienced, horrific torture and human rights violations at the hands of ISIS. And then researchers just came in and sort of went and tried to find people who had been tortured and talk to them and ask them about what had happened. And it wasn't good for the people that had experienced the torture, right? They needed to be left alone. They needed to be able to share their stories if they wanted to, when they wanted to, and how they wanted to, and not just because some researchers came in and wanted to make a name for themselves. So this is a topic that I feel really strongly about, because all research shouldn't just be to benefit us as researchers. It should also benefit the people that we are researching. And so if we don't have that equality in benefit, we're not having ethical research. So if we take one thing out of this presentation, I want it to be, do we have to do this research? Why do we need to do this research? Will this research actually benefit the people that we're trying to research, or is this only going to benefit me to make a name for myself as a researcher and get my publication? We should never exploit people. And then the second thing is, if we take nothing else away, has this research already been done? Do we have to do this? And if you have a really good literature review, you will find that gap in the literature. But a lot of the times, we can find the information we're looking for through secondary sources, through things that are already published. We don't have to go out there and disturb people who are just trying to live their lives to extract information from them. So a term that you're going to hear, not from me, but hopefully over your career, is this concept of extractive research, where we're just taking from people. We're taking information from them. We're extracting resources, their knowledge, their lived experience, and we're not giving anything back. And that's what we don't want to do. We don't want to engage in extractive research. In some countries, and I don't know about Bangladesh, I've heard differing information. So I don't know if there is a strong culture of having institutional review boards. But in a lot of countries, and with a lot of universities especially, if you're conducting research at a certain level, there will be institutional review boards. And these are independent ethics committees and review boards whose job it is to make sure that you're engaging in ethical research. So you have to present to them how you're going to ensure that your research is ethical. And they will not give you permission to do your research unless you can show that you're following ethical research protocols. So even if you don't have IRBs in Bangladesh, you can still try your best on your own to make sure that your research is ethical. So here's some key considerations: informed consent, privacy and confidentiality, transparency and participant ownership, integrity, and safety, risk mitigation, and do no harm. So again, these aren't universal. If you Google, if you go online, there might be other things that you find, other principles. But for me, I've found that these serve me very well. And as long as I can keep to these research principles, I've found that my research meets the minimum standards of being ethical. So, informed consent, privacy, and confidentiality. Informed consent is a process in which researchers will provide the participants with really clear information about what the study is, why they're doing this study, what potential harms can come out of the study, what potential benefits can come out of the study, who's funding the study, what type of questions are going to be asked, so that the participants get to decide for themselves if they want to be a part of it. And a lot of times this is just a form, right? And so just ticking the box of saying, oh, I gave the participant a form to sign that tells them what this research is that's not enough, because maybe that person is low literacy. Maybe that person, just is feeling a little bit overwhelmed and they don't want to read through some really long form with a lot of scientific jargon in it. They just want clear information on what this research is, why it's happening, what are the benefits, what are the potential harms, and basically it's about choice, right? You give them choice. This is a participant-centered approach. You tell them what you're doing, why you're doing it, and they get to decide for themselves if they want to be a part of it, right? But you have to be clear. Don't just put a form in front of their face. Take the time to just explain to them in language they can understand. And then once you get their informed consent, you can continue with the research. Next, privacy. I think this is pretty clear, right? Obviously, don't publish any identifying information about the participants unless they have given you the informed consent to do so. So that's something you can put on the informed consent form is, do we have your consent to publish information that would tie this research back to you? And with the types of research I do, nobody wants to give their identifying information. They want everything they say to be anonymous, because I usually research things like trauma, things where somebody might have experienced something, but they don't want everybody, they don't want the world to know that they experienced it, but they want to share their experience, because hopefully it will help other people like them not to have to go through the same experience. So again, you have to make sure that you don't publish any information about them. You can just say participant X or a participant said this. You really need to be very, very careful about if you publish their information. I would say the default should always be no, unless there's a really, really compelling reason why. And then confidentiality kind of goes in with that. It's the same thing, that you have really robust data safeguarding protocols so information isn't leaked. This means that when you code your data, you have numbers for participants or a code name for the participants rather than their actual name themselves. And so any data that could get out, their names aren't there. Their identifying information isn't there. Maybe only one person on your research team has that, and it's kept in a different location, right? This doesn't have to be really high tech. A lot of the people that I've worked with in other countries, they just have, like filing cabinets where they keep all the information. But then, keep the cabinet locked or keep, the sheet that has the people's names on it in a different place, right? So you don't have to have super high-tech processes for confidentiality, but you do need to think about confidentiality. Transparency and participant ownership. Again, this is about being participant-centered. The participants of the research, the people that you're getting the information from, need to be in control of the process, not you, because this research is about them, not you. If there's questions they don't want to answer, don't push them to answer those questions. They don't have to, especially if it's something about trauma or some kind of challenging experience that they had. If at first they say they're okay with it, but then they want to stop talking about it, they're allowed to. They get to decide at any point in any time, especially this is during qualitative research, that they don't want to talk about something. Being participant owned also means that you make it comfortable for them. So if you're talking to a woman who has experienced sexual and gender-based violence, probably have a woman researcher talking to them, right? Not a man. If you're talking to a man about, a traumatic experience that he had, perhaps of torture, which again, I don't think you should be doing any of this, but just these are examples. Try to have a researcher there who's somebody that can empathize and understand their experience. And then another great way to have this participant ownership is even in the informed consent form, give them really clear ways that they can withdraw their consent at any point in time. This has happened before. Again, I use Iraq as an example because Unfortunately, then, I know Josh will agree with me, he was in Iraq as well, the research protocols for ethical research just didn't exist. So there was a lot of cases where, you know, people engaged in research because they thought they were basically lied to. They were told that they were going to get something out of it. They were going to get some aid resources, or they were going to get some help to their community. So the researcher lied to them, but then they didn't get that. And then they found out that their information was actually going to go into a movie that was being shown around the world, and they were never told that. So these participants, I can't remember which newspaper it was, it might have been the New York Times, went to newspaper and said, hey, like, this isn't fair. We gave this information thinking that it was going to be something that would help our community. Instead, we're being exploited. My personal trauma is being made into a movie, and I do not consent. I never consented to this. And then the researcher said, oh, they did consent because they signed the informed consent form. But again, it wasn't clear. It wasn't clear in the form. Maybe it was in that form, but it was in tiny, tiny, tiny little font buried at the bottom. So that wasn't actually true informed consent. So just make sure that when you're getting informed consent, you just make it really clear and make it easy for them to withdraw their consent if they want to. Again, here's some concrete examples of what you can do. Tell them about the research and how it's going to be used. Tell them if it's going to be made public, right? And if it is, their names and affiliations will be kept confidential. Again, ask them to indicate their informed consent, and then maintain neutrality. Don't give them an impression that certain types of answers are preferable, right? Because this happens a lot. I think it happens in Bangladesh too. People tell you what they think you want to hear. And it's really hard to break out of that. You need to really make it clear to them that you want to hear what they think. You want to hear their experiences. No answer is better than another one, right? It's just about them. Avoid sharing your opinions. And then again, also avoid making any promises about any aid or any assistance that you're going to be able to give. Integrity. The same thing. So integrity is kind of the whole process. If you do these other principles, it will have integrity. So really be attuned to these ethical principles throughout the entire research cycle. Recruitment of researchers and participants, data collection and disaggregation, when you're reporting out, when you're using the results. Don't just follow ethical principles at one point in your research. Again, ensure it's methodologically rigorous and of merit and benefit to the participants. Make sure that the benefits and the burden of research is fair and equitable, right? Try to follow up with the participants to tell them about the results. Don't just leave them high and dry. I hear this all the time. Research participants saying, some researchers came to my community, talked to us, told us a lot of things, made us a lot of promises, took this information from us, and then we never heard from them again. We don't know what happened to our information. We don't know if that paper was ever published. We don't know what the results of that paper were. We don't see how it's actually going to benefit us. So try to follow through as much as you can, given the constraints you have as well, because most of you don't get a lot of money for the research you're doing it on your own, right? And I understand that. This is, for me, the most important, right? Don't ever directly interview vulnerable people like children, people who have experienced abuse, people with physical or mental health issues, people who have been trafficked, or anyone who has experienced a major trauma, unless you've been informed and been trained in trauma-informed survivor-centered research, or, sorry, I see a typo here, or unless the research has been cleared by an IRB. The last thing you want to do, and I know we all mean well, we all want to go out to the slums and go and find, the street children and try to understand their experience so we can do something to help them. That is not our place. Researching people who have experienced trauma and harm requires really, really specialized techniques so you don't re-traumatize them, so you don't make them feel worse. Because when you have them talk about their trauma and what they've experienced, they'll start going through that trauma again, right? So when you ask them to relive their trauma, it has very real health consequences, both mental and physical, for the people that have experienced trauma. So you do not need to be interviewing them, right? It's not in keeping with ethical research protocols. It should only be done if absolutely necessary, and then by somebody that's, been trained in these approaches. So what you can do instead is find publicly available sources, such as research papers or articles that talk about these things. There's always people that have done this kind of research already. Try to lean on them as much as possible. Or this is what I like to do, and I do this a lot too, because I very rarely in my research do this kind of direct information gathering with people who are traumatized. It's always best to find an organization that works for the rights of whatever group of people it is, and then interview them. Because these groups have already done their own research. They have usually, hopefully, all been trained in ethical research protocols, trauma-informed interviewing, survivor-centered interviewing, and they can be great resources for you to engage with. So you can interview them. You can interview the people that work at these organizations and get all the information you need to know. And so you don't have to go out and find people who have been traumatized, find people who have experienced sexual and gender-based violence, find people who have been tortured, and go and find very, very, very poor people who have been struggling their entire lives, and interview them. So again, to sum it up, interviewing and providing direct services to vulnerable or at-risk groups requires really rigorous protocols and should only be done by trained professionals. If you've been trained or if you have IOB clearance, then there's all of these things you need to think about as well if you're interviewing people who have experienced trauma. Evaluate the risk environment, right? Consider circumstances under which they might be reluctant to share information. If these people are like, again, I'm going to use the Iraq example, if there's somebody who has experienced, let's say, a sexual assault, they probably don't want to talk about it. And they probably don't want to talk about it, especially if their family members are around. Maybe they haven't told their family members. And then you're asking them to talk about it. That might put them in even more danger. I think you understand what I'm saying, yeah? Make sure that you have a secure, safe location for data collection. This is also something that I saw in Iraq, where people were trying to interview, again, people who had experienced sexual violence, and they just had them in an open room with other people around. They didn't conduct these interviews in a location where the people felt safe. They didn't conduct the interviews in a location where the people actually believed that other people couldn't overhear, and they didn't feel safe. Maybe it was like a bright room with, lots of windows. People could walk by and see them. Make sure that the location for data collection is the appropriate one. And like I mentioned, make sure that you have the right data collectors as well, speaking with these individuals. Don't put them in unsafe situations. Design the questions in an effort to avoid bias. And again, these are all, if you're trained in trauma-informed research, you'll learn how to do this. Have a clear trigger warning. I try to do this in the informed consent form. I say, hey, we're going to be talking about issues X, Y, and Z. These might be things that would cause you to feel uncomfortable. You do not have to answer any of these questions if you don't want to. That's why I'm telling you right now that they might come up. So you can say now, I don't want to answer these types of questions. Or maybe you think you do now, but then during the course of the research, you find that you've changed your mind and you don't want to. And that's fine as well. And then provide information on available psychosocial support. I think there's, there are some entities in Bangladesh, I know, that offer psychosocial support, and like BLAST, I think, probably does. And then this is the final thing, the last thing, don't forget the researchers, because researchers can get traumatized too from hearing this information, from hearing about the struggles of other people. We're empathetic people, right? We're doing this research because we want to help. So researchers can get traumatized too. So it's always important to have clear debrief sessions for the researchers themselves in case they experience trauma. All right, that is it from me. So I think I am going to turn this over now back to you all. If there's any questions on this, I think we can take 5 minutes now if you want to answer the questions, and then we want to hear from you. I know this was really quick. Again, I'm here for you. If there's more questions, if you want, like I said, the concrete examples, please, reach out to DURS and they can put us in contact. So is there any more questions on this?
Yeah, ma'am, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Just to add something on your point, you've shared some important facts about the Institutional Review Board. So from Dhaka University Research Society, previously we tried to reach that kind of board if there is anything like that in our university. So I'm just sharing some information with you.
Great.
I don't know if you can see the. Let me just present my slides. Yeah. Can you see everything? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the official Dhaka University website.
Okay.
Here we have some guidelines for the Institutional Review Board, which we
Okay.
have.
Great.
And this Institutional Review Board is basically facilitated or managed by the Institute of Health Economics at our
Great.
university.
Mhm.
And some of our professors and teachers, they manage this. And we have to
Wonderful.
basically fill up a form. I'm just showing you the form.
Great. Okay.
This is the form
Uh-huh.
from the Institute of Health Economics. We have to
Mhm.
fill up this form, and there are two options like regular and fast track options. So fast track will be given approval by within 10 days, and
Okay.
regulars will be given approval by 30 days, 1 month.
Okay.
So we
Okay.
have to input our research project and title of the study and our supervisor names or co-investigators and all the details of the research and ethics. These are the forms. I will share it with you later,
Excellent.
the
Excellent. Okay.
full form.
Great.
And then later on, after submitting everything, we just have to send it to our the health economics department and reach out to the necessary individuals for our final. This is the submission process that they have shown with us. So we do have this kind of process in our university,
Perfect.
and we further looked into the more procedures by our members previously from our wing members, and what they have learned is that there are some special fees for this institutional review board review.
Yeah.
We have for internal applicants like Dhaka University students, $300 is the regular fee for this
Right.
kind of review board, and for fast track it's $500. And for external, anyone else who is not from the Dhaka University, they have to pay $500 and for regular, and $750 for fast track. And this
Okay.
is all exclusive of patent text, and this is what the process tells all of us about. And this
Yeah.
is basically sums it up that this is what our institutional review board suggests. So I have some queries or comments from myself, because as we looked into it, because some of our members they tried to present or publish papers in the international journals like Q1 or Q2 journals.
Yeah.
So what they do need is what you said, the institutional review board certification,
Yeah. Yeah.
ethical certification, and in that process they need to pay that $300.
Yeah.
It's a big amount for a normal student, because they had to put their own money to conduct the research, and they have to
Yeah.
pay $300 extra. It's like more than 40,000 taka in Bangladeshi.
And that's a
Taka. Yeah,
huge amount of money.
that's a huge
right?
amount of
That's
money.
a
Yeah.
huge amount
So
of money.
that's a huge cause. So a lot of students, even though they're interested, it feels like they're demotivated because of this.
I
And I've
completely
discussed,
understand that.
yeah, I've discussed this issue with our IQAC, Institutional Quality Assurance Cell of Dhaka
Mhm.
University,
Yeah.
moderators and teachers, and they have also shared that this is the regular process. There is nothing to discount. I don't know why, but this is the process we have in our country at
Okay.
the Dhaka University.
I thank you for sharing that with me. I understand, and I'm going to be very diplomatic in my response, because I
Yeah.
understand why there's a cost to it, because you're taking people's time. People have to review people have to review your research protocols, right? And that is somebody's time. And so they need to get paid for their time. At the same time, I think it's unfortunate because this turns ethical research into a chore, and it turns it into a barrier that is keeping you from conducting, from publishing your research. And that can make you feel like you don't want to do this. So I think it's a shame that it is so expensive, because I think that turns ethical research protocols into something negative, right? Rather than what it should be, which is something positive. So I wish that there was a way that there could be a low cost, let's say maybe $25, which I know even that is not low cost, right? I know even that is money, right? But I wish there could be some kind of a model for that. But again, I am not in your institution, so I can't do anything to change it. But I understand what you're saying, and I do think that's a shame, but I still believe that it's really important to try to conduct your research in an ethical way as much as possible. Okay.
Yeah, excellent. Let's see what we can do. I don't know. Every time we have to do some activism to come forward. I don't know what we can do.
Well, I
Let's
will
see.
help you. I will help you. It's an external
Yeah.
friend of DURS as much as I can.
Thank you. Do we go forward?
Yes.
Anybody else have any question for now about everything that ma'am said? You can just share it in your chat box.
Yeah, share in
And
the chat.
also, we can also. It's okay. We can move with Josh sir is here. I think if he wants to share something, we can go forward to the later. We will do the presentation part.
Okay, Josh, do you have anything that you want to share, or are you still just in listening mode?
I'm still just pretty much in listening mode, so I think everything sounds good.
All right, great. Let's go to the presentations.
Okay. So I'd like to start the presentations. Maidur Rahman Bhai, I think you are present here. If you would like to start your presentation first, please. So let me just share everything. Everyone, whoever is presenting, just be ready. I will call your name and you will start your presentation by first of all introducing yourself and then giving your presentation just for 2 minutes. Okay, each and everyone, please. Maidu bhai, are you ready? If you can't share your presentation slides, no worries. You can always just talk, no issue. Yeah.
Okay. I cannot share my screen, but I am starting. Okay.
Yeah,
am
please.
I audible?
Yes, great.
Okay. Dear Honorable Dr. Daniel Vidya Tracy ma'am and Joshua Rosenblum sir, good morning and good evening to those who are attending from Bangladesh. This is Maidur Rahman, and I'm appearing my final examination of master's course on peace, conflict, and human rights. And besides this, I'm working in a small research group of DURS to learn hands-on research. And now I'm moving forward to my presentation. My topic is strengthening electoral integrity and voter trust in Bangladesh. Challenges and pathways forward. The integrity of elections remains a cornerstone of democratic consolidation. The integrity of elections remains a cornerstone of democratic consolidation and in Bangladesh, despite regular electoral exercises since independence. public trust in electoral process continuously fluctuate due to perceived political bias, administrative irregularities, and limited transparency in electoral management system. This study explores the major challenges undermining electoral integrity, focusing on voter confidence, institutional autonomy, and political violence. Through a qualitative analysis on secondary data, election observation reports, and media documentation from the last 3 national elections. Findings reveals that electoral distrust stems mainly from vastly perceived partisanship bias of election commission, and secondly, absence of the level playing field of opposition political parties. Thirdly, misuse of administrative power, and finally, inadequate implementation of the electoral code of conduct. Furthermore, digital misinformation and limited civic education have amplified polarization and reduced youth participation. Proposed solutions include number one, and this is the most important, is strengthening the institutional dependence on and accountability mechanisms of election commissions through constitutional reforms. Second, ensuring the neutrality of law enforcement during electoral periods, establishing transparent candidate nomination and campaign finance system. Lastly, expanding voter education initiatives to enhance informed participation. Furthermore, a participatory and technology-enabled electoral process complemented by robust civic oversight can rebuild voter confidence and foster democratic resilience in Bangladesh. I rest my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want us to give questions? Can we give the questions after each one so that it remains fresh in our minds? Great. So excellent. I loved how clear you were about your methodology, that you didn't do any first person research. It was all sort of secondary research. And my only question for you is, given your lived experience and knowledge and expertise in Bangladesh on these subjects, of these proposed solutions, which ones do you think are actually feasible? Do you think that there will actually be able to be constitutional change? Do you think that constitutional change will be enough to bring about strengthened integrity within the institutions that you rightly say have not been independent before? So do you think that it's feasible to have this constitutional change? And then even if we are able to get it, do you think that that will be enough, or do you think that we would need more? And then my second question is, in keeping with that, of the recommendations, which ones do you think are more feasible, are the most feasible? That's it from me. Over.
Okay. First answer, in Bangladeshi context, probably it might not be possible to institutional reforms, because from the early childhood, I don't even see any fair election, and I don't even trust on our electoral system, actually. So now we are going through a post-uprising period, and I think this time, if Bangladesh government led by civil society members, and if they tried and people raise their voices, then it might be possible to institutional reforms, because if we can election commission, if they are bound on legal instruments, then it might be possible, and it should be independent from government body. It should be under High Court or Supreme Court Chief Justice. Then it might be possible, but the chances is very low. And ma'am, I lost your second question.
Of your findings, of the recommendations, which ones do you think are the most reasonable, the most feasible?
Most feasible means
most doable, the most doable that
most
could be
doable,
done. Yeah.
we could be some institutional reforms, and we if we neutralized the election commission, then democratic chances is increased, and establishing a transparent candidate nomination and accountability on expenditure on election, if we can monitor it through, because now we can surveillance, and if we can resist the overflow or misuse of funding, then it might possible, but we have to we don't lose our hope, and we have to move forward for a democratic country.
I agree. Thank you very much. Josh, did you have any questions?
Nope, nothing here.
Okay, great. Thank you. That was a really good presentation. It was very clear and concise.
Thank you,
I
ma'am.
appreciate it. Well done. All right, who's next?
Okay, I would like to ask now from University of Dhaka Department of Public Administration, Jannatul Firdaus, are you present? Hello, Jannatul Firdaus, can you hear us? I think she's present. I don't know. Okay, we will just, as we will record it, you can always talk about it, discuss about it if you are comfortable. This is her abstract, Citizens' Perception on Students' Participation at the National Level Politics. It's a pretty basic idea. I think she shared that she will be having 400 respondents from the Dhaka city who will be selected conveniently, and 10 KII will be conducted among purposely selected professionals with a political consultation and conscious background. This study will shed light on mass perception of their acceptance to a student as a national leader. So students' participation at the national level politics is an interesting topic, I think, because most of our students at the Dhaka University, it's becoming more and more politics oriented. So they are trying to get into the national level politics, and which we have seen so far in our history. So she will be having interviews and data collections. I think that's her basic idea, but I don't know, she's not here. So
That's
if
okay.
you would like to have any comment.
Yeah. The only comment from this abstract, I would say, would be if she's only going to be talking to people from Dhaka city, it has to be Dhaka citizens' perception on students' participation, right? Because it's not national. It's fine. It's absolutely not a problem to only have it be in Dhaka, but just make it clear that this is only representative of people within Dhaka, and then how the survey, how the participants will be chosen, the respondents of these 400, what tools are you going to use? What approach are you going to use to choose these 400 survey participants? Do you want to try to make it a survey that tries to capture as many types of people as possible? And then, what kind of sampling do you use? Or do you only want it to be, what kind, do you only want it to be men? Do you only want it to be women? Do you only want it to be rich people? Do you only want it to be poor people? Do you, so that type of thing, which Josh is the guy that does the surveys. So I don't know if he can talk right now, but definitely he could have some ideas on the types of approaches to picking the survey participants to get at the right disaggregation of who you want to look at. So from my end, that would just be my main comments, but I think it looks really interesting. I would love to read this study because I think it's very, very timely. Josh, did you have anything to add for now?
No, nothing particular. Unless anyone had any specific questions, but yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right.
She has to marginalize her topic,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, exactly. But I think this is a good starting point. I just think that she can narrow it down a little bit, and then make sure that the questions are designed really, really well, because it's going to be a survey, and then also the KIIs. I love it. Okay, so she's really clearly saying who it is. It's going to be purposefully selected professionals with a political consultation background. Okay, so that's good. I really like the way that she's clearly said who it is that's going to be in the KIIs. Okay, great.
Excellent. Okay, thank you for your comments. We will do it like this. If the participant is not here, I would be grateful if you just give some comments
Of
on
course.
that. So I would like to go forward with Abdul Tarif from Department of Population Sciences of the University of Dhaka. Let's see what he has in his abstract or topic. So this is his research idea. Oh, it's a scientific research he's sharing. Biodiversity destruction is a threat to human existence. I think it's a research article that's been published.
Okay.
Yeah. So he shared it with you to just show it to you. I think I'll just share it to you later on.
Yeah.
Because
Great.
it's a scientific topic, it's not relevant with our topic,
All right, but
So,
well
but you can
done.
just
Well done.
see it,
Let me see. Biodiversity. Okay. What was the research that was done? So we've got a good definition of biodiversity.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is not a research paper. It's just an article, I think.
Okay. Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Here we go.
It's just an article. Yeah. So it's okay. I will just share it to you later on. He shared it to us. Okay.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Later on, I'm moving forward to Mahbubul Alam from Dhaka University Department of Pharmacy. Mahbubul Alam, are you here? I don't know what he's sharing. I've seen this because, okay, he shared his abstract. I don't know if it's you can see it. They shared their abstracts in this kind of format. This research aims to explore the factors influencing voter behavior and electoral participation in Bangladesh, with a special focus on youth engagement in the democratic process. The study seeks to identify the key social, political, and psychological determinants that shape voting decisions and voter turnout during national elections. So he will be using a mixed method approach and interviews to gather data from diverse demographic groups, and he will be also conducting statistical analysis to examine the correlations between the variables such as age, education, political awareness. And the idea is to basically to provide insights that can help policymakers, educators, etc., to design more effective voter education and participation programs. So that's his basic idea in the abstract, but I'm sorry that I don't have much details.
No, that's okay. So my comments on this is it looks very comprehensive, right? This looks like a really, really, really big study, especially because we're trying to get at the key foundational barriers and determinants, right? At the social level, at the political level, at the psychological level. I mean, this is a lot. If we're really going to be identifying these determinants at these multiple levels of analysis and then trying to come up with, you know, with responses of how these determinants can be changed or mitigated, which it seems like is happening. This is the thematic analysis. So insights that can help policymakers, educators. My only comment on this looks like a PhD dissertation. This looks like a really, really, really ambitious study that to do it really comprehensively would require a lot of qualitative research, because when you're trying to get at things like psychological determinants, things like social factors, you're going to need to really go in depth and have a lot of interviews with people. Yeah, I mean, I think this looks great. I would love to do this study too. I would perhaps suggest focusing on one, narrowing it down a little bit. If you want to look at only social factors or only political factors, or look at one thing. So narrow it down a little bit so that it's not so ambitious, unless this is a PhD dissertation. But I think this looks very, very good. But whoever this is, I don't know if you're here online, do give yourself a break. Do recognize that this is a really, really big undertaking, and, go easy on yourself. Maybe narrow it down a little bit. But, from this abstract, I think it looks really good. Josh, any questions? Any comments?
None here again.
All right. No worries.
Okay.
Okay.
So shall we move on?
Yeah.
Okay. So the biodiversity. The previous one's title was biodiversity destruction versus AI invention. Which one is more devastating for the world? So it feels like a feature article,
Wow. What an interesting topic.
Interesting topic.
Yeah.
But sometimes people like us, we students, we think like this type of topic, but they're not narrowed down. They're basically, it feels like it's a feature related topic, which should be published in a newspaper more than as a research paper. But isn't it interesting? Like, this is the idea that we generate in our mind, and later, how do we narrow it down into a research paper? If you'd like to focus on this or comment anything about this.
Something like this topic? I mean...
No, like, for example, this is a topic.
Yeah.
And this comes to my mind.
Yeah, okay.
As a student. So
right.
I'm thinking like how to put it into a research paper topic title and write an abstract for it. How do I narrow it down, and how do I conduct it, or what should be the thought process, thinking process for me if I want to move on from a feature topic to a research topic?
Right, understood. I think that the main thing would be, if you go back over, into the second week of this course, when we talked about the process, right, of identifying your key questions, right? What is the question that you want to answer? Is this a question that can be feasibly researched? And what methods would you use, right? So think about, okay, the question is, this biodiversity destruction, let's say, versus AI invasion, how would you operationalize that? What do you mean by biodiversity destruction? What do you mean by AI invasion? How would you measure these concepts? How would you measure these topics? What would the key research questions be? Again, we didn't go into dependent versus independent variables, but what would your dependent variable be in this? How do you take this from something that's in your brain and a really big topic and turn it into something that you can actually study. What are your questions? What do you want to look at? You want to look at how this variable affects this variable. Then how will you determine the questions that you need to ask to see how this variable affects that variable? And then what methods will you use to try to identify if this variable is affecting the other variable, So for this, how would you measure biodiversity destruction? How would you measure AI invasion? How would you then ask questions about that? What research methods would you use to look at this, right? And I think that this would have to be something, not just this, but anything, is define what you mean and then see if it's even something that you could possibly research, again, given the time constraints, given the resource constraints that you have as a student researcher, right? So get your methods, get your methodology, get your theoretical framework, get your approach, and then see if it's something feasible or not.
Yeah.
I see a hand raised.
Hania, Ratul, do you want to add something on this topic, or do you have any particular question?
Actually, I wanna comment on this session, and I wanna ask a question.
Okay, sure.
Well,
Please go on.
Okay. Actually, although it was a short course, but I have learned a lot of things and short things that the ethical issues and other procedures. Thanks for all, and thank to you all actually. And my question was related to electoral research. We did a research on pre-electional condition and perceptions on the voters, and result has been published, and most of the cases, our perception-based research findings allows same result which is produced by the voters after the election. Result says the same thing what we have predicted. And now my question is that we have published a report, and if now I wanna publish the report to a research paper, what can be the procedure to follow? That was my question actually. How can I convert a research report to a research article for being published by a journal?
Okay. Fahim, do you want to try to answer this one? Because I think you've had more experience on this in terms of in Dhaka of getting this type of thing done, understanding these constraints with the IRBs, etc.
Well, I don't know the procedure in the US or the other countries, but what I know is what we did previously at our university. It's like what we do is that we need to have a supervisor, or like anyone who is a senior teacher or researcher. So we have to get him as the author or co-author, and a 3 people team we need to have. And then later on, what we do is that there are 2 options available. Like we can focus on in any conference, research conference, publishing the paper in any conference, and giving it or presenting it for that section, or register for any conference. Or we can also focus on there are some national research journals that are available. South Asian International Journal, SAIST. There are some other many journals available. So we can just send the abstracts and proposals to them, and they will decide, and they will later on reach out to us if they want to, if they approve it for our publication. And then later on, there are some processes, and we do it like regular journal publications also. Or the third way is to go for the international publication, and for which we need the institutional review board. So after writing a report, we need to get approval from the health economics department, as I said earlier, the report has to be converted into a proper research paper type of structure. And then after that, we have to send it to them for the review. And after getting the review, you know the procedures. We have to find any proper Q1 or Q2 journal or Q3 journal, or somebody, they also look for paid journals. So there are lots of options. Uh, so we have to focus on them, and then later on, after submitting our emails and after filling out the Google Forms, let's see what happens. And finally, the paper gets published. That's a enjoyable moment in our life. So that's what I know from my side.
Great. Excellent. Excellent. So again, here, just going back to this one topic of biodiversity destruction versus AI invasion. Yeah. Define biodiversity destruction, define AI invasion, define devastating for the world, right? So for the sake of this, the dependent variable, the thing that you want to find out is which is more devastating for the world. And then your independent variables are biodiversity or AI invasion. And then you need to show how you would measure more devastating for the world, right? You would need to show how you measure, define AI invasion, and then biodiversity destruction. So if you could have really clear definitions, measurable operationalization and definitions of these three topics, that's the first thing. And then if you can do that easily, then you go into your tools, et cetera, et cetera. Okay?
Okay, let's move on to something else. So, okay, now I have someone from Imran Bishwas. Are you here? Imran Bishwas from the University of Dhaka, Department of Urdu. Okay, let me just see what his idea
Okay.
is.
Uh-huh.
So he just shared an idea, nothing much. His research idea is about how social media affects young voters
Mm-hmm.
and opinions and decisions during elections in Bangladesh. Oh yeah, so it's a common topic. I think I have seen some more topics regarding this. So it's a pretty common thing, and I think you guys can put your comments on this, because even in my department, many of the students, they conduct these types of research: how social media affects, how
Mhm.
Facebook affects, and the opinions, decisions. Even in the previous, it's not not something to laugh. It's a pretty serious topic, because we are what media tells we are. That's the situation what in our society or situation we live in. So media is actually what makes us and what makes us believe. So the research idea is about how social media affects young voters' opinions and decisions during the elections. And many people, they get most of their political news and ideas from Facebook, YouTube, and other platforms. And you know, in Bangladesh, Facebook is more convenient. Facebook is more popular than any other
Mhm.
social media. But in the US, it's something different. It's the Twitter or X or Instagram. I don't know. They are more available. So he will be having some online surveys and short interviews regarding many different areas, and you know the basic procedures. So
Mhm.
I'd like to add some comments on this also
Great.
and go
Please
to
do.
you. That
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
there are
Yeah.
many researches I've seen. They just say that there are many students, they are conducting research on young voters' opinions on decisions regarding also the July revolution that happened in previously in our country in 2024 July August, and also what's happening currently in our country, like the right wing Islamist or political situation. So they want to conduct research on specifically social media, how it affects. So how do you conduct this type of research? Like you get some comments. Most of the comments are related to cyberbullying. That's what
Mhm.
happens in our social media. So do you just measure the cyberbullying level, or how the any community, people from any community, they get bashed or bullied in any of those platforms, or how the fake news and bias, they create negativity in the general people's mind. So is there anything you would like to suggest in conducting these types of research, ma'am or sir?
Yeah, so the first thing I want to say is that I don't conduct research on this subject. So anything I say is just going to be very rudimentary, right? It's just going to be about the general research kind of methodology and writ large. I think that if you want to do this kind of research, again, be very specific. Don't try to do everything. Don't try to focus on everything. Focus only on bullying if that's it. But then again, if you're looking at bullying, you need to be trained in trauma-informed research methods, because if somebody's been bullied, they've been traumatized, right? So if you're asking somebody about their experiences being bullied, it's just going to be, you need to just make it really clear, and try to be as general as possible of like, have you experienced bullying? Do you feel like you have? If you want to share, please do, but you don't have to. And yeah, I just think that I get that everybody wants to study that, but it is something that could be traumatizing or re-traumatizing to people. That said, some people want to talk about their experiences and have no problem. So if somebody wants to, if you get really clear, informed consent, you say, hey, I'm going to talk to you about bullying. It might bring up some really hard feelings for you. Is this something you want to talk about? If so, great. If not, no. And then also, make sure that you keep it really confidential. But in general, I would say try to stay away from topics like bullying or anything that has to do with being traumatized. You can also, if you want to study bullying, what you could do is you study the people that are, and again, this would be dangerous for you to study the people, but you could in general study the trends of the bullying, how it happens. So not the people who are affected by the bullying, but the bulliers, right? What platforms is the bullying happening on? What approaches do they use? How do they go about doing the bullying? Is it sort of hidden through trolls and this sort of thing, right? So you can still look at the topic without going and finding somebody who's been bullied. That would be my first comment. My second comment would just be, again, in general, keep it really narrow. Try to look at one thing and do that well rather than looking at everything. So like this one here, how the platforms help voters learn about politics. So if we want to understand how the platforms help voters learn about politics, I think that we don't have to look at how the political campaigns use social media, because that you're looking at a different variable, right? Are we trying to look at young voters' opinions? Are we trying to look at how platforms help the voters have the opinions? Or are we trying to look at how the political campaigns use social media to share messages? They're just, to me, this is three different research questions. So what you could do is narrow it down to one of these and then conduct that research accordingly, and then say, we recognize that there's still a lot of potential for further research on this subject to understand even more. But for now, we're going to focus on the young people themselves and how they engage with media rather than looking at the political parties and how they engage with media. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, would Josh like to have any comments?
I think he's just in listening mode, but if he does have any comments,
excellent.
he'll definitely chime in.
Yeah, I think we're basically done. I don't think we have anything more.
There is
So,
somebody in
yeah.
the comments
Comment
here that
section.
said they want to get tips on a draft research paper. Please put me in contact with them directly. Okay, you can share my email with them and I will talk to them one-on-one, right? Again, like we
Yeah.
said, wrapping up here, this is the end of this course. It's been such an honor working with all of you. I know Josh feels the same way, and we're not just saying goodbye, we're saying goodbye for now. So we do want to remain in contact. We do want to support you as much as we can, you know, throughout this. So if you have any qualitative research that you're conducting and you want to get my opinions, get some guidance from me, I'm really happy to do that. And if you have any quantitative, I'm qual, Josh is quant. Josh can also help you as well. So I don't know if there's anything else, Fahim, that you want to say from DURS or anything that the students want to say, but just from my end and speaking for Josh as well, we just want to say thank you. We've just enjoyed this and such an important topic, and thank you for being interested, and thank you for giving your time, and thank you for caring about your country and and wanting, you know, free, fair, credible, you know, genuine elections with integrity. You're the future, right?
Yep, we are definitely the future. So I won't be doing any comment. I would like to have comments from the students who have attended all the sessions throughout the four trainings. Do you like to have any comments? Anything? Anybody want to just open your audio?
Oh,
Yeah,
good. Thank
Waziha, thank
you.
you. Or just write in the chat box how you like the sessions overall. Or any more questions? How you like Daniel ma'am and Josh sir?
Hopefully it was
Yeah,
okay.
anyone?
Looks like it. Hi.
It was
Hi.
perfect. It was
Mushfiqar,
perfect.
do you have something to say? No. Okay. All right.
They're just shy, you know.
Very shy. No problem. Thank you, everybody.
was
So
really
happy.
nice.
Okay, thank you.
It's really nice, and I actually implemented one of your teachings in my term paper. So you talked about operationalizing the terms, or for example, I'm saying complexity. What is complexity? So I did that, and it was really helpful. Thank you.
Good. Excellent. Good. Anybody else? I know there are some other people. And again, what you just said, if you take away anything, if you operationalize your terms, it just helps you out so much, right? So operationalize your terms, don't re-traumatize anyone, and you'll do great. Who else? Did somebody else had their mic on? Mider, was it you?
Yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, this is not question, actually request.
Sure.
I would like to further conduct research with the team and regarding any social mm, uh, or social issue or electoral process. So keeping keeping me in your mind.
Of course, definitely. I will do that. Okay. Well, if there isn't anything else, we will sign off for now. But again, like I said, Josh and I are always around to help you and keeping you in our thoughts. A question. River. Oh, that's a great question, Mohammed Isanul. And
Ihsanul
I
Islam,
don't
yeah.
know the answer to that. I think you need to conduct some research on this and and come back
As
and
I
tell us.
told you, feature ideas, you know,
Yeah, this is
newspaper
great.
ideas. Yeah,
This is
how to
great.
turn it into a research. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously you would need to, yeah. Okay, this is an interesting
Bangladesh
one.
is a riverine country.
It is,
That's the thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I really like this idea. Isanul, then, you know, send us an email once you have some more ideas on this and we can get back to you. Okay, you all need to go. It's late and I need to start
Yeah.
my day, but yeah, just please be proud of yourselves, okay?
So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to, I'm very, very grateful to Taniel Taisi ma'am and Josh sir who is listening mode in
He's listening
so
mode.
yeah. Yeah, so thank you both, and thank you all the participants for being present with all of us here. I would like to thank our volunteers from Mahamia Shanta, who has been attending the sessions and managing the background things, and Maidur Rahman Bhai, who is also helping us, our executives, Humayra Andirapu and others executives, Adrita Maliyat, our executive is here, and other executives I can see. So I'd like to thank everyone related to this, and let's see, hopefully in the future, if we get connected, if we can match with each other, we'll be starting anything new, any new possibilities. We are open. And till then, I'd like to say thank you, everyone. Thank you from Bangladesh. শুভেচ্ছা সবাইকে. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you, George sir. মাইদুর ভাই, তাহলে রেকর্ডটা অফ করে দেন। কারোর সাথে কোনো কথা থাকলে আমি